Marry me, get rid of your mother first. I heard every word, cold and sharp as the wind slipping through the cracks of the door. Then came my daughter's voice, soft as a breath, replying, "Okay." I froze. In that moment, time stopped. I stood in the hallway, still holding the tray of cold tea, my heart pounding so hard it hurt. Behind the closed door of the living room, Mark's voice carried on, smooth, steady, low, the kind of voice that made anyone trust him. Except me. I couldn't make out the whole conversation, just fragments: wedding, house, new plan. But those two words, "get rid," they pierced my ears, cold and unmistakable. And Lily's answer, she didn't hesitate, didn't question, just, "Okay," soft, brief, but enough to turn my heart to stone. I stumbled back a few steps, nearly dropping the tray. The freshly baked apple pie slid off the plate, landing on the carpet. The sweet scent of cinnamon turned bitter in the air. I stared at the broken pieces on the floor, just like my small world shattering before my eyes. I've lived over 50 years through loss, through loneliness, but never have I heard anything so cruel, especially from my own daughter. I still remember that night. It had seemed so ordinary, so peaceful. Our small house at the end of the street glowed softly under the warm yellow light. I'd prepared everything for dinner: a white tablecloth, a bowl of salad, Lily's favorite stew, and the fragrant apple pie. Mark was coming over, as he did every weekend. I had thought, perhaps, he truly loved her. Mark, the handsome young man with the crisp white shirt and the kind of smile designed to inspire trust. There was something about the way he looked at people, smooth, controlled, calculated, that always made me uneasy. Ever since the engagement, I had tried to like him. I really had. But there was a chill in his eyes I couldn't ignore. Dinner went as usual. They sat across from each other, whispering and laughing softly. I ate in silence, listening to Mark talk about the dream house he was looking to buy downtown, a place where the young couple could start their new life. When Lily turned to me, her eyes sparkled, her voice trembling just a little. "Mark and I will move there after the wedding, Mom." I nodded and smiled, forcing down the lump in my throat. Outside, the wind howled against the window. I didn't know why, but in that moment of supposed happiness, I felt afraid. After dinner, I went upstairs, planning to call Mrs. Johnson, our friendly neighbor, to tell her about the engagement party. But as I passed the stairs, I heard Mark and Lily talking softly in the living room. At first, I didn't mean to eavesdrop. But then Mark's voice came through, slow, deliberate, and cutting like a blade. "Marry me. Get rid of your mother first." I froze. And when my daughter's voice followed, "Okay," the world fell silent. No laughter. No explanation. Just silence. A silence so heavy it pressed against my chest, stealing my breath. I staggered back to my room, my arms numb. I didn't sleep that night. The streetlight outside flickered through the curtains, pulsing like a heartbeat on the ceiling. I lay there, listening to the ticking clock, each sound repeating his words. "Get rid of your mother." And her voice, gentle but distant. "Okay." I wanted to believe I had misheard. But deep down, something in my chest whispered the truth. From that very moment, everything had changed forever. The next morning, the house was still, as if nothing had happened. Sunlight slipped through the window, casting a long strip of light across the tiled floor. The smell of coffee and fried eggs drifted through the air, but to me that familiar scent felt strangely foreign, as if I were living in someone else's home. I walked down to the kitchen. Lily and Mark were already there, whispering. When they saw me, Lily flinched slightly, then forced a smile. "Morning, Mom. Mark and I were just talking about the wedding." Her voice was light, almost casual, but her eyes slid away from mine. Mark turned toward me, a polite smile drawn neatly on his face. "I was hoping you could help me pick the flowers for the ceremony, if you have the time." I nodded, suddenly short of breath. For a moment, I almost convinced myself that last night had only been a nightmare. But when Mark put his hand on Lily's shoulder, the touch wasn't gentle but possessive. I shivered. I realized then, some things can't be dreams because they still hurt when you wake up. From that day on, I began to watch. At first, it was only small things. Lily no longer told me about work the way she used to. She spoke vaguely, spent more time on her phone, and sometimes smiled to herself. Mark started coming over more often, staying longer, and always had a reason to insert himself into everything. "Let me fix that leaky pipe for you." "I'll go over your insurance papers. They're so outdated." At first, I thanked him, but then, seeing Mark rummage through my drawers, my eyes froze on his hands, smooth, clean hands that moved too naturally, as if this were already his house. One evening, I heard Lily on the phone in her room, her voice so low I had to press my ear to the door. "You're right. Mom won't understand. We have to do it before she finds out." My heart clenched. I stepped back quickly, nearly spilling the glass of water in my hand. When Lily opened the door, she startled. "Mom, what are you doing here?" "I was just coming to call you down for dinner." She stayed silent for a few seconds, then gave a small nod, her eyes colder than ever. That dinner was suffocating. I tried to make conversation, but Lily only picked at her food, never looking up. Mark kept smiling, asking me polite, empty questions. In his eyes, I read one thing clearly. He knew I had overheard something, and he wasn't afraid. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat in the dark, the streetlight seeping through the curtains, blotchy like bloodstains. In my head, Mark and Lily's words repeated over and over. "Get rid of your mother first." I wondered, what does get rid mean? Throw me out of the house? Or something worse? On the desk, the family photo still sat there, me, Lily, and Frank, my husband, on Lily's 14th birthday. Frank's smile was gentle. His eyes seemed to be watching me even now. I brushed my fingers across his face in the picture and whispered, "Frank, I think she's in the hands of a dangerous man. What am I supposed to do?" No answer. Only the cold, steady ticking of the clock. I took a deep breath and murmured, as if making a vow to myself, "If they want to get rid of me, then I'll make them regret it." That night, for the first time in years, I locked my bedroom door from the inside. 3 days had passed since that fateful night. I tried to live as usual, wake up early, go to work, cook, tend the garden, but nothing was the same. Every time Lily called, "Mom," I flinched. Every time Mark touched my shoulder in greeting, a chill ran down my spine. Something was slipping out of my hands, like a loose thread unraveling from the fabric of the life I had spent years stitching together. That afternoon, when I came home from my shift, I saw a few envelopes on the kitchen table. Bank statements, junk mail, and a letter stamped with the insurance company's logo. I opened it. Inside it read, "Confirmation of beneficiary change for the life insurance policy of Lillian Carter. New beneficiary, Lily Carter." I froze. I had never requested any change. I still remembered the last time I signed anything 3 years ago, and the beneficiary then had been a charity. I steadied myself and called the customer service line. After checking, the woman on the phone said gently, "Ma'am, the request was submitted by email last week. The digital signature matches your file." "I never sent anything," I nearly shouted. "I'm sorry, but the authentication is complete. If you wish to dispute it, you'll need to file a formal claim in person." I hung up. My hands were trembling. Last week, that was when Mark started talking about managing finances for Mom. Could he have? That evening, Lily came home late. I sat waiting on the sofa, one lamp on. When she walked in, I asked, "Do you know who changed the name on my life insurance policy?" Lily startled for a moment, but quickly regained composure. "Mark said it's better for you. He said if anything ever happens, the money will come to me so I can take care of you. The words sounded sweet, but inside I felt nothing but cold. You think something's going to happen to me? Don't say it like that. Lily turned away, her voice trembling. I just want to be sure. I watched her climb the stairs, the glow from her phone flashing against the wall, blink, blink like a warning I couldn't decipher. That night I couldn't sleep. I opened my savings account to check. 2 large withdrawals this month, over $25,000. I hadn't taken out a cent. Sweat beaded on my forehead. I flipped through old statements, my eyes aching. Every transaction had my signature, or at least something that looked like it. Mark. I remembered the way his eyes focused when he signed the contract for Lily's wedding flowers. Calm, meticulous, frighteningly precise. A dark intuition rose up. He's preparing for something. And somehow, I'm part of the plan. The next morning, I tried talking to Lily again. Don't you think Mark is a little controlling? She frowned. Mom, not again. You don't like anyone, do you? He's taking care of us, and you? Taking care of who? I cut her off. You or himself? Lily stood up, her eyes like steel. If you keep this up, I'll move out sooner than planned. The door slammed. The lock clicked. I sat alone in the silent kitchen, staring at my cooling cup of coffee, the steam fading, leaving only the bitter taste on my tongue. That night, I stood in the hallway outside my daughter's room. The door was ajar. Lily held her phone, speaking softly. Yes, she found the letter. But don't worry, I'll handle it. Then she laughed softly, chillingly. I stepped back, my heart pounding. The light from her room cast 2 silhouettes on the wall, one laughing, one silent. In that moment, I knew. Peace had truly died in this house. The morning after hearing Lily on the phone, I knew I couldn't stay still any longer. I used to think, if I just kept quiet, everything would settle down. But now, silence felt like willingly stepping into a trap. I decided to start with the simplest place, our paperwork at home. This apartment was small, but over the years I had kept everything in perfect order: contracts, receipts, my husband's letters. That night, after Lily went out with Mark, I opened the wooden cabinet under the stairs, the one holding all our financial records. The first drawer, neat, untouched, just as always. The second drawer, I found an envelope with its seal broken inside, were documents about the house, the mortgage agreement, the homeowner's insurance, the deed. But there was one photocopy I had never seen before on the last page, scribbled in clumsy handwriting. Second co-owner, Lily Carter. I froze. I had never added my daughter's name as co-owner. This house was bought by my husband and me. After he died, I held sole ownership. And yet here was Lily's name, along with my signature so perfect I had to look twice to see the tiny difference. The L in Lillian curved backward on my real signature, but here it was straight and stiff. Someone had forged my signature. I pulled out my phone and photographed everything. My head spun, the insurance, the bank accounts, and now the house. If what I suspected was true, then Mark didn't just want to get rid of me. He was preparing to erase my name from everything. The sound of the door opening startled me. Lily walked in, looking tired, lipstick smudged. "Mom, you're still up?" "I couldn't sleep," I answered softly. "You and Mark got home late?" "He's busy with work, Mom. Don't think badly of him, okay?" "I'm just worried." Lily sighed, setting her bag on the table, her voice dropping. "I don't want to fight with you. I know you don't like him, but he's not a bad person." I looked deep into her eyes. The warmth I once knew was gone, only a dim, clouded light remained, like someone being led somewhere without realizing it. "Sweetheart, have you ever thought someone might be taking advantage of you?" "Mom!" Lily snapped, her voice breaking. "You're always suspicious. Do you know how suffocating you're making me?" She stormed upstairs, the door slamming. Her footsteps echoed down the hallway, each one like a hammer striking my heart. I sat still for a long time, listening only to the hum of the refrigerator. In my mind, I thought of Mrs. Johnson, the neighbor across the street, who used to do accounting for a small insurance company. Maybe she could help me verify these documents. The next morning I went to her house. Mrs. Johnson opened the door, her familiar warm eyes softening, but when I handed her the file, the smile vanished. "Oh my goodness, Lillian, these are very sensitive papers. Who sent you this copy?" "I don't know. I found it in my house." "You should be careful. If this really is forgery, whoever did it isn't just trying to take your money, they're trying to take your legal property." She hesitated, then added, "I've seen cases like this. People use their elderly parents' names to mortgage the house, then disappear with the loan money." I stayed silent. The wind through the window rustled the papers in my hands. Could it be Mark was preparing to mortgage the house under my name? On my way back, I saw Mark standing by his car, on the phone. His eyes flicked to me, and a faint smile crossed his lips. I knew then he had seen the file in my hands. And in that moment, I understood. He knew I had started to suspect him. The next morning, Mark showed up earlier than usual. I was making coffee when I heard a knock on the door. When I opened it, he was standing there well-dressed, a gentle smile on his face, holding a bouquet of white tulips in both hands. "Good morning, Mom Lillian," he said, voice soft as a breeze. "I brought you some flowers. Lily said you like these." I looked at the tulips, and something tightened in my chest. Frank, my husband, used to give me these for my birthday, the last one before he passed. "Thank you," I said quietly. "Where's my daughter?" "Lily's already at work. I dropped by because I wanted to talk to you." He smiled the kind of smile that reminded me of a cat lazily playing with a dying mouse. We sat in the living room. Morning light streamed through the curtains, casting long, pale shadows across the wooden floor. Mark poured coffee, polite to the point of being theatrical. "You seem tense lately," he began. "Lily said you've been having trouble sleeping." "Yes. There are some things on my mind." "Things about me?" "Things about everything," I said, meeting his eyes, especially certain documents being changed without my knowledge. Mark didn't flinch, didn't act surprised. He simply smiled, took a sip of coffee, and replied, "Oh, you must mean the insurance and the house. I was just helping Lily with those. Since you both live together, it's better to have transparency. Helps everyone feel at ease." I set my cup down. The porcelain clicked against the wood with a dry, hollow sound. I don't need anyone to be transparent on my behalf, and I never signed anything adding Lily's name. He leaned back, fingers laced together, calm and composed. "Mom, it's the digital age. E-signatures, online paperwork. Sometimes people sign things and forget. I never forget anything when it comes to my home." For a brief moment, his smile faded. The sweetness disappeared. What remained was cold, hard steel. "You know, stress isn't good at your age." "Lily worries about you. So do I. In fact, if you need to take a break, we can take care of everything. You just need to trust us." I understood. Beneath the silky words was a threat. Stay quiet and let us do what we came to do. After Mark left, I opened my laptop with shaking hands. I needed evidence, something concrete. I logged into my bank account, no suspicious activity. Then I tried accessing Lily's account since we had once shared a device. The browser still remembered her login. After a few clicks, the recent transactions appeared on screen. The words stunned me. Transfer, $15,000. To account MG Holdings LLC. I searched it on Google. The company was registered under Mark Gabriel. There was no more doubt. My daughter Lily was either sending him money or being forced to. I closed the laptop, my hands still trembling. The house suddenly felt unnaturally quiet. On the table, the bouquet of white tulips he'd brought still looked fresh, their sweet scent floating in the air. One petal fell, landing beside my coffee cup, where my lipstick stain still lingered on the rim. Looking at it, I felt like I'd unknowingly signed my own death sentence. That evening, Lily came home. I tried asking gently, "Did you withdraw any money today?" "Why are you asking?" "Your account. I saw a transfer to MG Holdings." Lily froze for a second, then frowned. "Mark asked me to send it. His company's investing." "Mom, can you please stop meddling in our business?" "Do you even know what you're doing? Enough, Mom," she snapped, eyes welling with anger. "You always want to control everything. I'm not a child anymore. You need to learn to let go." She stormed off upstairs, slamming the door so hard that a photo frame on the wall rattled. I sat there, throat tight. I used to think losing my husband was the worst pain life could bring. But now, I knew losing your child while they're still alive and living under your roof. That was the pain that truly broke you. I couldn't stay still any longer. Ever since Mark entered our lives, things had started to change, but it wasn't until I saw his name tied to my money and property that I finally understood. This man didn't come for love. The next evening, I pretended to head out for a night shift at work. In truth, I parked my car a few blocks away and quietly walked back toward the house. The lights inside were still on. Through the downstairs window, I saw Lily moving around, then the door opened. Mark stepped out. He didn't leave with Lily. He got into his own car. The clock read 9:00 p.m. I followed him. Not like a trained investigator, just a desperate mother clinging to the last scraps of her instinct. I stayed slow, kept my distance. His car turned into the city center and pulled up in front of a sleek glass building headquarters of Silverline Insurance. I knew that name. That was the company managing my life insurance policy. He turned off the engine, opened his car door, and a woman walked out of the building. Young, pale blonde hair, dressed in a sharp black suit. She moved quickly toward Mark. They spoke briefly, and then I froze. They hugged. Not a friendly hug. The kind of hug two people share when they're bound by something secret. He took a folder from her hands and turned back toward his car. Before driving off, Mark kissed her on the cheek and said something that made her laugh. That laugh sharp as a knife. I stood there in the dark, my heart pounding. The wind cut through my coat, but sweat rolled down my back. With trembling hands, I snapped a few pictures with my phone blurry from shaking, but clear enough to capture their faces, and the Silverline logo glowing behind them. When I got home, Lily was sitting in the living room, eyes red and puffy. "Where did you go?" she asked, her voice unsteady. "I went for a walk." "A walk? This late at night?" I looked at my daughter, her face drawn, dark circles under her eyes. She didn't look like the child who used to run to me during thunderstorms anymore. "Have you been crying?" "No, just tired." "Where's Mark?" "He had something to take care of." A long silence settled between us. I wanted to say everything, wanted to show her the photos, scream that he was cheating, manipulating both of us. But I knew if I did, I'd lose her instantly. She was already too far gone. In her eyes, Mark wasn't just a lover, he was the escape, from her controlling mother, from this suffocating house. When Lily went upstairs, I opened my phone and looked at the pictures again. I zoomed in on the woman's face and my stomach dropped. I recognized her, Megan Lott, an insurance advisor who'd come to our house last year to update my paperwork. She'd been friendly then, complimenting how well organized I was, praising my record-keeping. I remembered her gray eyes and cold smile now staring back at me from the photo. A thought hit me. If Mark and Megan knew each other, it's possible my entire insurance file had been tampered with from the inside. I opened my old emails and searched for the address of Silverline. After a few minutes, I found the thread between me and the company, the last message. Wasn't from me. Sent. 2 weeks ago. Content. Confirming the change of beneficiary. Thank you, Megan, for your excellent guidance. The email was signed with my name, but I never wrote it. I didn't sleep that night. I sat by the window, staring out at the empty street. The wind rattled the leaves outside. In my heart, I knew. This wasn't a family issue anymore. This was a setup, a scheme, and if I didn't act soon, I might disappear from everything: my assets, my records, even my life, without anyone questioning a thing. I opened my phone, saved the photos, and named the folder For Lily, Proofs. If something ever happens to me, at least she'll know. Her mother was right. The next morning, I woke up feeling heavy. Rain poured outside. The sound of it hitting the tin roof was like 100 whispering voices, constant, relentless, repeating warnings I no longer wanted to ignore. Mark didn't show up, but Lily did. She walked into the kitchen with dark circles under her eyes, a cup of coffee in hand. I knew I couldn't hide it any longer. "Lily," I began slowly, "I need to talk to you." "Okay, go ahead." I placed my phone on the table and opened the Proofs folder. "Look at this. These are photos of Mark meeting a woman named Megan Lott, an employee at Silverline, the insurance company that holds my policy. She's the one who tampered with my documents." Lily paused, her eyes scanning the screen, then shot up and glared at me. "What are you doing, Mom?" "I just need you to see the truth. That man isn't who you think he is." "Enough, Mom!" she screamed, her voice cracking. "You followed him? Took pictures in secret? You're insane!" "I did it for you, because I'm afraid." "Afraid of what? Of losing me?" Lily laughed bitterly, tears spilling even as her voice filled with anger. "You've never trusted me. You only trust yourself." She shoved her chair back and stood. "He loves me, Mom. He's the first person who's ever made me feel heard, unlike you, always controlling, always judging." "Love?" I choked out. "The man who made you drain your account, forged my signature, and is cheating on you? That's love?" The air shattered. Lily stood there, chest heaving, and then burst into tears. "You don't understand. He said you've always tried to keep me from living my own life. He just wants me to be free." I stepped forward, trying to take her hand, but she pulled back, shaking her head. "Please, Mom. Just stay out of this. If you don't stop now, you're going to lose everything. If I have to choose, I choose him." Those words were a blade. I stood frozen. Part of me wanted to scream, to slap her back to her senses, but the rest could only stand there, numbed by pain. Lily stormed upstairs, slamming the door behind her. Alone in the kitchen, I stared at my still steaming coffee. Outside, the rain poured harder. Distant thunder rumbled, mixing with the erratic beat of my heart. I knew that from this moment on, all lines in this house had been severed. There was no more mother and daughter, only a suspect, and someone being used. That afternoon, after Lily went out, I stepped onto the porch to breathe. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Mark's car parked at the end of the block. He always left it there when he visited. A wave of instinct surged through me. I walked toward it. The door was unlocked. On the passenger seat sat a thin folder and a silver USB drive with the Silverline logo etched into it. I glanced around, then quickly took them and tucked them into my coat pocket. My hands were trembling, but for the first time in weeks, I felt like I was holding something that truly belonged to me. Back inside, I plugged the USB into my laptop. It contained 3 folders: insurance, property, and a hidden folder named Plan B. I opened Plan B. Inside was a single file. Audio record 27.mp3. I clicked to play it. Mark's voice came through clear, cold, metallic. "If she doesn't sign, you know what to do. Your mom's stubborn, But everyone lies still eventually. Lily's voice responded soft, trembling. Please don't hurt my mom. Don't worry. We just need her signature on everything. After that, she'll be out of your life for good. My heart stopped. I collapsed into the chair, hand over my mouth to keep from crying out. Everything was crystal clear now. I looked around the home I had lived in for decades. Every photo, every keepsake suddenly felt foreign, as if I were standing on the stage of a crime waiting to unfold. Lightning flashed outside the window, illuminating my pale reflection. I whispered to myself, barely audible. All right, Mark. All right, Lily. If this is your plan, then I'll have one of my own. The next morning, the sun came out after a stormy night, but inside my house, nothing had changed. The damp smell lingered, the silence was heavy, and tension hung in the air like smoke between the walls. I sat at the table, laptop still open to the Plan B folder. I replayed the audio file at least 10 times. Each time, my heart clenched tighter. Lily's voice fragile, afraid. Mark's calm, steel cold. She'll disappear from your life forever. That sentence struck like a blow to the chest, leaving me breathless. I downloaded the file to my hard drive, then carefully backed it up to a second USB drive. I knew if Mark ever discovered this, he'd do anything to erase the evidence. I kept asking myself, what did he plan to do to me? What did disappear mean? I remembered the way he looked at me, the veiled suggestions. You deserve rest. Don't worry about anything. Let us take care of it. All the pieces fit now, forming a chilling picture. Mark didn't just want my money. He wanted me gone. That afternoon, Lily didn't come home for lunch. I said I was going grocery shopping, but really, I went to find Mrs. Johnson. She opened the door, her face clouded with concern. Lillian, you look terrible. What's going on? I handed her the USB, my voice shaking. Can you listen to this and verify it? Is there a way to prove it's real? She put on her glasses, opened her laptop, and played the recording. After a few minutes, she nodded gently. It hasn't been edited. The audio's original. I used to work in accounting, and I know someone in the tech unit at the police department. They could help if it comes to that. I can't go to the police yet, I cut in. If I do, Lily will be dragged into this. I need more proof enough to take Mark down without destroying her. Mrs. Johnson looked at me, eyes filled with quiet sorrow. You're a brave mother, Lillian. But be careful. That man, he seems smart and dangerous. I nodded. She was right. That evening, I decided to explore the other folders on the USB. The insurance folder held dozens of copies of my insurance policies, all in my name. But the beneficiary field had been changed to Mark Gabriel. Lily's name was gone. I nearly collapsed. At first I thought he was using Lily. But now it was clear he was using her as a pawn. Once everything was signed, the one who would benefit wasn't her. It was him. I held my head, dizzy with horror. I wanted to call Lily down, make her listen to all of it, but I stopped myself. I knew. If I pushed now, she'd only pull further away. I needed someone else. A witness. Someone who could confirm Mark was manipulating the insurance system. That night, I called Silverline, pretending to be an old client. Hello, I'd like to speak with Megan Lott, the advisor handling my file. I'm sorry, the receptionist replied. Megan no longer works here. She left about 3 weeks ago. Do you know where she went? According to our records, she transferred to MG Holdings. My breath caught. MG. Holdings, the same company Mark used to receive money from Lily. I slowly set the phone down, heart pounding. The picture was complete now. Mark and Megan were working together. One inside the insurance system, the other posing as a loving fiancé teaming up to target and steal from vulnerable middle-aged women like me. And Lily, my daughter, was just their first move. I looked out the window. The sky outside was burning red, like blood smeared across the clouds. I whispered, "Mark, you picked the wrong woman to con." I removed Frank's photo from its frame and hid the USB behind the backing. "Darling," I whispered, "I won't let them destroy what you left behind." I was no longer the fearful mother from the night before. From that moment on, I knew the fight had begun. I've always believed that if you want to know someone's true nature, look at their past. Mark might be able to fool Lily, the neighbors, even our friends, but he couldn't erase the footprints he'd left behind. I started by digging into his previous job. According to Lily, Mark used to work in financial investment. After a string of fake phone inquiries and a few anonymous emails, I finally received a brief reply from someone named Clara Dean. Her message read, "If you're asking about Mark Gabriel, meet me in person. I won't speak over the phone." 2 days later, I met Clara at a small cafe in the suburbs. She was a woman in her early 40s, hair tied back, eyes dark and deep. When she looked at me, she sighed quietly. "You're the third person in the past 2 years who's asked me about him." "Third?" I asked, surprised. "Yeah, the other 2 were cops, but they gave up after they couldn't find any solid evidence." I tightened my grip on my coffee cup, heart racing. "You knew him?" "I used to work with Mark at Silverline Insurance. He's smart, charming, knows exactly how to make women trust him, especially the ones who are lonely or hurting." She pulled a photograph from her purse, an older woman, smiling gently, standing next to Mark at a party. Her name was Elaine Moore. He got engaged to her too, promised her love, a future, and a few months later, all her assets were gone. They found fake documents showing she'd signed everything over to him, but it all looked legal. And then she disappeared. Disappeared? No one saw her again. Some say she went abroad. Some say she took her own life. The police never found a body, but I know Mark was behind it. I sat frozen. Every word from Clara was a knife to the chest. Elaine, a name I'd never heard, yet her story mirrored mine almost exactly. A charming man, a woman who trusted him, a trail of transferred assets. And then, nothing. "Do you have anything else?" I asked, my voice hoarse. Clara nodded and pulled out a worn, yellowing folder from her bag. "I kept part of his employee file, not exactly legal, but I thought I might need it someday. It has his old addresses, phone numbers, and a business account registered to MG Holdings. He started that company to launder money. I'm sure of it." I took the folder with trembling hands. "Thank you, Clara." She looked at me, voice slow and steady. "If you have family, protect them. Mark doesn't just take money. He takes people's lives." On the drive home, I stopped at a gas station and looked again at the photo of Elaine. She had a kind smile just like mine. Her eyes were tired but warm, and I imagined a day where someone might see a photo of me standing next to Mark at Lily's engagement dinner and whisper, "She disappeared too." A chill ran down my spine. I gripped the steering wheel and made myself a promise. No, I won't be the next Elaine. That evening, I returned home and tucked the folder into the back of my wardrobe drawer. When Lily opened my door and called out, I jumped. "Mom, Mark wants to invite you to dinner. He says we should all make peace." I smiled and replied softly, "Of course, I'd like to see him too." But deep down, I knew the truth. That dinner wasn't for reconciliation. It was to find out which hand he kept the knife in. I arrived at the restaurant exactly when Lily said, a fancy place, warm golden lights, the scent of wine and polished wood hanging in the air. Everything was so peaceful it was terrifying. Mark was already there, sitting across from Lily, and he stood when he saw me and politely pulled out my chair. "Mom, you made it. That's great. We should talk like a family, don't you think?" His voice was soft as silk. If I didn't know who he really was, I might have believed he was a kind man. I sat down, doing my best to stay calm. "Thanks for the invitation. Seems like you and I do have some things to talk about." Mark smiled and poured me some water. A silver watch glinted on his wrist. I know you're worried about Lily, and I get it, but I think you've been under a lot of stress lately. Stress? I raised an eyebrow. Yes, Lily said you haven't been sleeping well, that you're suspicious, even following me. I'm not offended. Many people over 50 show early signs of short-term memory issues. Have you had that checked? His words were gentle, but each one cut like a knife across my skin. I inhaled deeply. You're saying I'm imagining everything? Oh, no, he chuckled, lifting his hands in mock reassurance. You just seem tense. Lily and I only want you to feel safe. We've spoken to a therapist and they suggested helping you relax. Take a little time to rest. I turned to Lily. She sat still, not daring to meet my eyes. I think you should see someone too, Mom. It felt like someone had pulled the rug out from under me. Mark wasn't attacking me. He was planting seeds, letting me doubt myself. Mark, I said slowly, do you know what I found? Insurance documents, bank records, a USB in your car? USB? He tilted his head, offering a faint smile. I'm not sure what you mean. My car's locked at all times. Don't pretend. Mom, if you did find a USB, I'd suggest having a professional check it. Lately, there have been scammers uploading fake audio, deepfakes, voice forgeries. It's easy to be tricked. I clenched my fists. He had just denied everything while also planting the idea that I had been scammed. It was a perfect move. Lily spoke up, her voice tentative. Mom, the other day you said you heard him in a recording. But what if it was edited? There's a lot of fake stuff online these days. I turned to my daughter. Her eyes were clouded with doubt. I wanted to scream, to throw all the evidence on the table, but I knew he had won this round. If I appeared frantic, Lily would truly believe I was unwell. I took a deep breath, keeping my voice steady. If you trust him more than you trust me, then you better pray he really is a good man. Mark tilted his head and smiled sweetly. I understand. You're just trying to protect Lily. But sometimes, too much love makes us imagine things that aren't real. He reached for Lily's hand, just enough for me to see. She held on, like she was clinging to something solid in a storm, and a part of me shattered. The meal ended in silence. Driving home, my mind was blank. Everything blurred around me, headlights, horns, rain like thick, suffocating fog. I asked myself, am I really losing it? No. I heard his voice in that recording. I saw it all with my own eyes. But then I remembered Mark's smile, calm, confident, like he knew I was powerless to stop him. When we got home, Lily didn't say a word. She went straight upstairs, leaving me in the dark. I sat down, leaned my head back, and let the tears fall silent, without sobs. On the tablecloth still held the faint scent of Mark's cologne. I took a lighter and set fire to one corner of the fabric. The flame was small, but it burned fiercely, like a rage that had been buried for too long. I whispered into the darkness, if he wants me to doubt myself, I'll make sure he's the one who was wrong. I stood up, walked into the study, and opened the proofs folder. Next to the audio file, I created a new one. Countermove. 3 days had passed since that dinner, and I had barely spoken to Lily. She avoided me, and Mark had vanished from sight. Everything seemed quiet, but I knew it was the calm before the storm. I had to act, and I had to be careful. That morning, Mrs. Johnson knocked on my door. I got in touch with the tech guy I mentioned, she said quietly. His name is Evan. He used to work in Silverline's data department. If anyone can recover the contents of that USB, it's him. That afternoon, I met Evan at a small cafe near downtown. He was young, maybe 30 thin, with thick glasses. When I briefly explained the situation, His eyes grew serious. You said there's an audio file with someone named Mark Gabriel? Yes. Can you take a look at it for me? I handed him the USB. Evan plugged it into his laptop and typed quickly. The screen lit up, showing a list of files. Aside from the audio file, there are some hidden ones. Looks like someone tried to delete them but didn't wipe them completely. Can you recover them? I'll try. A few minutes passed. Then he looked up, eyes wide. Jesus. You need to see this. On the screen was a mortgage agreement with my signature, but the co-owner field clearly said, Mark Gabriel, guardian executor. I stopped breathing. This file was created 2 weeks ago, Evan said quietly. The email it was sent from belongs to you, but the metadata shows it was written on a different computer. The IP address traces back to MG Holdings. You're sure? I've been working with digital forensics for 10 years. There's no mistake. I leaned back in the chair, my heart pounding. Mark's words from that dinner flooded my mind. Just rest, Mom Lillian. Let us handle everything. He wasn't just tricking me, he was getting ready to steal my home. Evan, can you print a copy and keep the original data somewhere safe? I will, but you need to be careful. If that man finds out you're digging into this, he might react unpredictably. I know, I said, nodding, but I don't have a choice anymore. By the time I got home, it was dark. Lily was sitting in the living room, eyes glued to her phone. Where were you? Out. Met a friend. You saw Mrs. Johnson, didn't you? Her tone sharpened. Mark says she's been spreading lies about him. Mark said that? I looked her straight in the eye. Interesting. Lily pressed her lips together, like she was going to say more, then stopped. I walked past her, clutching the envelope with the printed contract. For the first time in weeks, I felt no fear, only cold resolve. I went straight to my room and locked the door. Opening the envelope, I stared at the forged signature pretending to be mine. I let out a dry, bitter laugh. It echoed in the silence. I picked up my phone and texted Evan. Keep a second copy somewhere safe. If anything happens to me, send it to the police. Message sent. I sank to the floor, hands trembling, but my eyes burned with clarity. You want to mortgage my house, Mark? Fine. I'll let you bury yourself with that very contract. That night, I heard Mark's car pull up outside. He didn't come in. He stood at the gate, in the rain, staring up at my bedroom window. We locked eyes through the sheer curtain. He smiled a faint, hollow smile, but it was enough to send ice down my spine. I gently closed the curtain and switched off the light. In the darkness, I whispered, This game isn't over, Mark. It's only just begun. I waited until the next morning to act. The sky was foggy, sunlight bleeding weakly through the window like a streak of diluted ink. Lily was sitting at the dining table, her hair slightly messy, looking exhausted. I walked in holding the envelope with the contract inside, heart pounding, but my gaze was steady. Lily, we need to talk. Seriously. What is it this time? She looked up, voice already laced with suspicion. About Mark, and this house. I placed the document on the table and slid it toward her. This is a mortgage contract. It has my forged signature. Read it. She frowned and picked up the paper. Her eyes scanned it quickly, and for a brief moment, her expression faltered. Why is Mark's name, and yours, on this? Because he forged my signature. He's trying to mortgage this house to take the money. The USB has everything, all the data points straight to him. Lily looked at me, then at the paper, then let out a sharp breath. Where did you get this? From a tech specialist who used to work at Silverline. He recovered the data from Mark's USB. What USB? Her voice rose. The one I found in his car. It has audio recordings, documents, evidence, including Megan Lott. At that moment, the door swung open. Mark walked in holding a cup of coffee, his expression relaxed, brazen. Well, what are we chatting about this morning? Tell me, Mark. Lily turned to him, voice trembling. What is this? Why is your name on this? Mark glanced at the document, then smiled slightly. Oh, that. Did your mother tell you someone's been trying to scam her? Someone's been sending her fake papers, supposedly from me, to make her suspicious. Fake papers? I froze. Yes, he said calmly. I've already spoken to my lawyer about it. Apparently, someone hacked your mom's email to spread false claims. I even have a confirmation from the bank. He pulled out his phone and opened an email. On the screen was a message from Metro Bank, reading, "We confirm the mentioned contract is a forgery and holds no legal validity." I stared at it. The logo, the formatting, it all looked perfect. He had come prepared. Lily, listen to me. No, she shot up from her chair. How far are you going to go, Mom? Now you're faking documents to frame him? I didn't. He has a letter from the bank. And you? You have a USB that you say you found? I was speechless. He had planned every move. I looked at Mark. His eyes said what his lips didn't. You can't win. After the argument, Lily stormed upstairs and slammed the door. Mark remained behind, rinsing out his cup like nothing had happened. Mom, Lillian, he said in a low voice, I know you love Lily, but if you keep trying to sabotage us, I won't stay polite much longer. Are you threatening me? No, just a reminder. Some people destroy themselves without anyone having to lay a finger. He placed the cup down, smiled faintly, and walked out. The sound of the door closing echoed sharply, like a verdict being passed. I slumped to the floor, staring at the papers scattered across the table. On my phone screen, a message from Evan lit up. I've backed up the files in a secure location, but be careful, someone tried to access my computer last night. I gripped the phone, throat tightening. Mark had started his counterattack for real. That night, when everything had fallen quiet, I stood outside Lily's bedroom door. I could hear her crying. I raised my hand, ready to knock, then stopped. I understood if I walked in now, she wouldn't listen. I had only one choice. Let him think I've given up, then strike when he least expects it. I stepped back, whispering into the dark. Sweetheart, I'll save you, even if it costs me everything. 3 days had passed since that confrontation. I remained silent, just as he wanted. Lily believed I'd given up. Mark was more confident than ever. But beneath that silence, I kept moving. I knew it would only take one mistake for him to dig his own grave. On the third morning, I received a message from Evan. Miss Lillian, I found more data in the USB deeply encrypted. You need to see this. We arranged to meet at Mrs. Johnson's house. Evan arrived with his old laptop, looking grim. This data was hidden in the system folder. No one would have noticed unless they looked closely. There's an Excel file called Claim Payouts DEX-LSX. Payouts? I repeated, my heart pounding. Yes, a list of insurance policies with changed beneficiaries. 3 names, Elaine Moore, Catherine Hill, and Lillian Carter. The room spun around me. Elaine, I breathed. She's the woman who disappeared. Evan nodded. I ran a quick check on old records. All 3 were clients of Silverline. The common thread. They all had large life insurance policies, and all were changed to benefit the same person, Mark Gabriel. I collapsed into the chair. A cold wave swept over me. He'd done this before, not once, but multiple times. A predator, targeting lonely middle-aged women, gaining their trust, forging their documents, and turning them into profitable deaths. Evan's voice trembled. Ms. Lillian, if this list is real, then you're the next. I know, I said softly. And I won't let him win. I took a copy of the file home and hid it inside the sugar jar on the kitchen shelf, somewhere no one would think to look. That evening, Mark showed up. He was dressed sharply, carrying a bottle of wine. Lily opened the door, glowing again. And I? I played the gentle mother, pretending to forget everything. Mom, Mark said we should celebrate tonight. He just signed a new contract. Oh, really? I smiled. That's wonderful. Mark looked at me with a knowing smile. Yes, a fresh start for all of us. Through dinner, he was all charmed, cheerful, attentive, pouring me wine. But in his eyes, I saw something else. He was waiting, counting down to something. After dinner, I went to the kitchen to wash the glasses. When I returned, I saw Lily slumped in her chair, her hand still holding a half-full wine glass. I rushed to her side. Lily, sweetheart, are you okay? Mark stood behind us, feigning concern. She's probably just tired. She hasn't eaten much today. She drank this glass? Yes, but just a little. I brought the glass to my nose. There was a strange smell. Bitter, sharp on the tongue. Fear surged inside me, but I kept my face calm. Take her upstairs to rest. I'll clean up. He nodded, lifting Lily into his arms. Once they were out of sight, I poured the rest of the wine into another glass jar, sealed it, and hid it in the fridge. I didn't know exactly what he'd done, but I was sure of one thing. It wasn't just wine. Night fell. I sat by Lily's bedside, listening to her heavy breathing. In the dim light, I saw Mark standing at the door, silently watching us. She's just tired, he said. Don't worry. I'm not worried about her, I replied. I'm worried about you. You always think the worst, he said, stepping closer. I just want what's best for us. After the wedding, we could sell this house. It'd go for a good price. You know, in times like this, money's the only real safety net. Yes, I whispered. But sometimes, money buys you a crime. He stopped, our eyes locked. 1 second. 2. The air turned thick. Then he smiled and turned away, his voice breezy. Sleep well, Mom Lillian. Don't stress yourself. Health is everything. The door shut. Then I heard it. Click. He locked it. From the outside. I grabbed the doorknob, wouldn't turn. We were locked in. I clutched Lily's hand and whispered in the dark, Sweetheart, if I'm right, something's going to happen by morning. But I swear I won't let him hurt us. Outside the door, I heard footsteps. Then, silence. A faint smell of smoke began to creep in through the cracks. I rushed to the window and yanked the latch. Nothing. It wouldn't budge. He'd locked it from the outside, too. A spark glowed beneath the door, a line of red-hot flame. I held my daughter close and screamed in despair. But even in that moment of panic, one thought burned brighter than the fire. Mark, you picked the wrong house to burn. I'm alive, and I will make you pay. Thick smoke rose in waves. I choked and coughed, dragging Lily toward the window. Flames surged from the bottom of the stairs. The stench of gasoline filled the air. I knew exactly what he had done. Lily, wake up, baby. She slowly opened her eyes, dazed. Mom, what's happening? The house is on fire. We have to get out. I smashed the window frame with a chair and pulled her through. The fire was raging, smoke blinding. We tumbled onto the low awning, then rolled down onto the grass. In the distance, I could hear fire truck sirens. My skin burned, but I never let go of her hand. Run, Lily! Get out of here! Neighbors rushed out. Mrs. Johnson was the first to reach us, yelling, Good God, Lillian! What happened to you? I couldn't speak. I just pointed at the house, thick black smoke curling like a nightmare. He set the house on fire. When the firefighters arrived, Mark showed up too, dressed neatly, completely calm. Dear Lord, what happened? He shouted, running toward Lily. Are you okay, darling? Lily collapsed into his arms, tears streaming down her face. Watching that shattered my heart. A police officer came over and asked, Ma'am, Do you know the cause of the fire? I tried to catch my breath. Him, Mark. He locked me in my room and poured gasoline downstairs. The officer turned to Mark, who immediately raised his hands. Sir, I just got here. I have proof the house cameras will show who was upstairs at the time. A firefighter handed over a charred hard drive from the camera system. Mark accepted it, then calmly handed it to the officer. I warned you Lily's mother has been acting erratic. She even burned a towel in the kitchen last week. I was afraid something like this might happen. I was stunned. You liar. Ma'am, please calm down, the officer cut in.
We'll investigate. But I knew, with that calm demeanor and smooth talk, he had won the first round. Mrs. Johnson helped me back to her house while the ambulance took Lily for evaluation. Once the door closed behind us, I nearly collapsed. Do you believe me? I asked, voice shaking. Mrs. Johnson squeezed my hand. I know he did it. Everyone in the neighborhood heard the explosion before the fire started. But you need evidence, Lillian. The police believe documents, not tears. I looked out the window. Smoke still billowed from the old house, the place where I had shared a life with my husband. That house was gone now, but I didn't feel grief. The only thing still burning inside me was the will to survive and to fight back. That afternoon, when Lily woke up in the hospital, I rushed to see her. She turned her face away when she saw me. Did you hear what they're saying? She asked weakly.
They say you started the fire. You believe that? They found a lighter and a gas can in your room. Lily, he put them there. Mom, her tears fell. Why do you keep blaming him? He saved me, don't you know that? I stood frozen. He saved you? Yes, he pulled me out of the room before the flames reached us. And I understood. He burned the house down, then played the hero. A flawless move. That night, back at Mrs. Johnson's, Evan arrived with a new hard drive. I managed to copy the camera data before the police took it. He said quietly. Some of it was erased, but I recovered 12 seconds. He opened his laptop. On screen, Mark, standing in the kitchen, wearing gloves, placing a gas can beside the staircase. The camera angle only caught half his face, but his voice was unmistakable. One little fire, and this'll all be over. I shivered. Evan looked at me. You've got the evidence to clear your name, Lillian, but if you go public now, he'll strike back. You need to choose your timing carefully. I stared at the screen, the fire's reflection flickering in my eyes. It's okay, Evan. I don't just want him arrested. I want him to fall in front of everyone. The next morning, I sat in Mrs. Johnson's kitchen, holding a cup of cold coffee, staring blankly at my laptop screen. The 12-second video, the only solid proof, was being edited by Evan into a clearer, more presentable clip. I watched it over and over. Every time I saw the fire reflecting in Mark's eyes, and every time the chill in my spine deepened. Evan, I said, can you send a copy to someone without exposing that it's from me? I can, he nodded. Who are you thinking of? The one person Lily still listens to, Aunt Carol. Aunt Carol was my late husband's sister, living in the next city over. She never liked Mark, but stayed silent. I called her, my voice trembling. Carol, I need a favor. Please watch this video, but don't ask who sent it. What's going on, Lillian? Just watch. You'll understand. I sent her the link. An hour later, my phone rang. Oh my God, is that really Mark? I need your help. Tell the rest of the family. Let them see he's not a victim. All right, but Lillian, be careful. He seems dangerous. I know, but if I stay silent, he'll keep winning. That afternoon, word spread. The video had made its way into the family group chat. Some believed it, some doubted. But for the first time, people began to ask questions. That evening, my phone rang. Unknown number. I picked up. Mark's voice, smooth as always, came through. Mother Lillian, that's quite a video you made. Very realistic. Fake, huh? I replied coldly. I'm sure the police will love hearing that. You don't understand. People misinterpret things online all the time. But if you keep pushing this, it won't just be your reputation at stake. Are you threatening me? No. Just reminding you. Oh, by the way, you should be careful who you trust. Mrs. Johnson isn't as clean as you think. My hand clenched the phone. What did you do to her? Nothing yet, he said after a pause. But if she keeps helping you, someone might discover a few old debts under her name. He hung up. I stood frozen. Mark wasn't hiding anymore. He was making moves in the open. 3 days later, I received a temporary court summons. Mark was suing me for defamation and invasion of privacy. Word spread fast. The whispers began. I heard Mrs. Lillian is paranoid. She made a fake video to blame her future son-in-law. Poor girl, marrying into that kind of family. I heard it all. Every whisper was a knife to the chest. But I didn't collapse. Mrs. Johnson came over, pale and shaken. He hired people to post online saying you were in mental treatment after your husband died. Lillian, you can't just sit still anymore. I know. I squeezed her hand. He's using rumors to isolate me, but he forgot one thing. What's that? I know how to use information too. I opened my laptop and logged into my late husband Frank's old email. Dozens of messages still sat there. I found one. A contact for a local journalist who once covered insurance fraud cases. I wrote a short message and attached the video. If you want a real story, a murderer posing as a loving fiancé, call me, Lillian Carter. I hit send. No turning back now. That night the phone rang again. A deep, serious male voice. Mrs. Carter, this is John Hill from the Tribune. I saw your video. If it's real, this isn't just fraud, it's attempted murder. It's real, and I have more evidence, but I need your absolute discretion. I understand. Can you arrange for me to speak with the man named Evan? I'll make it happen. I hung up, heart pounding. Outside the window, the wind howled and leaves scattered. I knew then this battle was no longer being fought in kitchens or living rooms. It was in the public eye now. 3 days after the video spread, Mark made his real move. He hired a lawyer and posted an official statement on social media. Our family is being harassed by fake news and doctored videos. My future mother-in-law, Mrs. Lillian Carter, is currently showing signs of mental instability. We sincerely hope she receives medical help. Beneath the post were hundreds of comments. Poor Lily, must be so hard having a mother like that. Older people hallucinate easily. Just leave her alone. Mark's such a good man, still defending her. I read every line, my hands trembling. No one knew the truth. No one wanted to know. He was handsome, polite, sweet as sugar. And me a widow, hair a mess, face gaunt, looked every bit the madwoman they said I was. 2 days later, the police knocked on the door. A young officer spoke in a firm voice. Mrs. Lillian Carter. We've received a complaint about harassment and invasion of privacy. We need to check your computer and storage devices. Mrs. Johnson protested, but I only said quietly, It's fine. Let them look. I have nothing to hide. I knew Mark was pulling the law to his side. He wanted me scared. He wanted me to actually lose my mind. When they left, Mrs. Johnson gripped my hand. Do you still want to go on? He's smearing you everywhere. The more he smears me, the more I have to prove him wrong. If I stay silent, my daughter will die believing he's a good man. That afternoon, I went to the hospital to see Lily. She was still weak but awake. Why are you here? Mark said the police are investigating you. You believe him over me? He has facts. You have hatred. That sentence cut like a blade. I stayed silent, laid my hand on her blanket. If one day you see his real face, remember I tried to tell you. I turned to leave, tears slipping down my cheeks. Behind me, Lily whispered so softly it nearly dissolved into the air, "I just want to trust someone without being betrayed." I didn't look back. I knew deep down she was still fighting, caught between reason and love. Late that night, as I sorted through papers, my phone rang. Unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. "Mrs. Lillian Carter?" "Yes. Who is this?" "I'm Rachel Moore. I'm a friend of Elaine Moore, the missing woman you're investigating." I froze. The voice on the other end trembled but was clear. "Elaine was my cousin. 2 years ago, she told me about a man named Mark. She sent me a copy of her insurance policy and said, 'If I disappear, look for this man.'" "Do you still have it?" I asked quickly. "Yes. I've been too scared to go public. But when I saw your name online, I knew I couldn't stay silent anymore. He did the same thing to my cousin." My heart pounded so hard it hurt. "Rachel, can you meet me?" "I'm in the next city." "But I can send you the documents. Be careful, Mark doesn't just scam. He kills." Her voice cracked. "They said my cousin committed suicide, but the police never found her body." I hung up, standing still. Everything around me felt frozen. There was no doubt now. Mark wasn't just a con artist. He was a serial predator, a killer. I opened the window and took a deep breath. The night wind rushed in, carrying the faint smell of ash from my burned home. "All right, Mark," I whispered. "You burned my house. You took my daughter. But this time, I have allies." The next morning I met Evan at a small cafe near the bus station. He had his laptop and a thick folder with him. "Rachel sent me everything she has," Evan said as he opened his laptop. "You need to see this." On the screen appeared 3 insurance files: Elaine Moore, Catherine Hill, and Lillian Carter. 3 names, the same policy template, the same beneficiary, Mark Gabriel. Evan scrolled through an Excel file and pointed at the timeline column. All 3 of these policies were updated just weeks before each woman either disappeared or had an accident. Elaine, vanished. Catherine, car crash. And you, the fire. I swallowed hard. So he's following the same pattern. Exactly. He targets middle-aged women with assets, widowed and easy to trust. He gains their confidence, forges signatures, then creates an accident to collect the payout. Is Rachel sure Catherine was killed too? She said Catherine worked with Elaine. After Elaine disappeared, Catherine tried to expose Mark. A few weeks later, she crashed her car on the way home. The air felt heavy. I could hear my own heartbeat. "Evan, we have to go public with this. I'm preparing for that. But you have to understand, if we do, he'll know. He'll hit back. Do you think I have anything left to lose?" I stared at him. "My house is ashes. My name is smeared. My daughter doesn't believe me. The only thing I have left is the truth, and I'm going to use it." That afternoon, Rachel called on video. Her face appeared tired but determined. "I've contacted the reporter you reached out to. They'll publish everything if we have legal proof." "What kind of proof?" "We need to show he directly accessed the insurance policies. Only someone inside Silverline could get to that system." Evan looked up. "I know someone, Harris, former data manager at Silverline. I used to work under him. He might still have copies." "Contact him immediately," I said. "This is our last chance." That evening, when I returned to Mrs. Johnson's house, the door was open. She sat on the chair, pale. "What happened?" "Someone threw a brick through the window with a note." I picked it up. Scrawled in red ink, "Shut up, or the next fire won't spare anyone." Below was a printed still from the house fire video, me carrying Lily out with a caption, "Crazy woman burns her own house to frame others." I gripped the paper, my lips trembling. "He's watching us, Mrs. Johnson. He knows every step we take." She held my hand, tears streaming. Lillian, I'm not afraid. I lost my husband early. There's nothing left for him to take. You're not alone. For the first time in weeks, I broke down and cried. Not out of fear, but because I knew that in this hell, at least one person still believed me. The next morning, a text came from an unknown number. You think that video will save you. Wait until people see the medical records. Who's going to believe a woman treated for mental issues after her husband died? Attached was my own medical file. Mark had hacked the hospital's data. He was twisting everything, turning me into the crazy mother to destroy my credibility. I slammed the phone down, took a deep breath. Fine, Mark. If you play dirty, I'll peel you apart with the truth. That afternoon, Evan called again. Mrs. Lillian, I reached Mr. Harris. He confirmed the Silverline servers still have log records showing Mark's IP accessing the contracts for Elaine, Catherine, and you. He's willing to meet tonight. Good. Bring Rachel. Tonight, we start turning the board over. Mrs. Johnson watched me gather the papers. You're walking into the lion's den, Lillian. I know, but if I don't go in, who's going to drag the monster into the light? It was pouring rain. That night, we arranged to meet Mr. Harris at an old warehouse by the docks. Rain pelted down like it meant to drown the world, and the streetlight cast blurry reflections across the wet concrete. Evan, Rachel, and I stepped inside, hearts pounding, every breath loud enough to hear in the silence. Mr. Harris stood waiting. A tall, thin, older man, rain soaking his hair, but his eyes sharp and cold. You're Lillian Carter? Yes, thank you for agreeing to meet. Evan said you wanted IP logs tied to Mark Gabriel? That's right. If we can prove he accessed those insurance records, we'll have enough to press charges. He nodded, reached into a leather satchel, and pulled out a small black USB drive. This is a server log archive from Silverline, going back 3 years. I kept it because I suspected fraud. Every unauthorized access Mark made was logged date, time, IP address, and the policy he opened. Tears welled in my eyes. Do you realize how many people you may have just saved? You're mistaken, he replied quietly. I'm just trying to make amends, because I stayed silent when Elaine disappeared. That moment, a sound outside. Evan whipped around. Someone's out there. Before we could react, glass shattered. The door flew open. 3 men in black stormed in, baseball caps pulled low. Run! Evan shouted. I yanked Rachel to the side as one of them lunged and grabbed for the document bag. Mr. Harris was shoved hard, his head hitting a metal barrel with a sickening crack. One of the men snatched the USB from his hand, sneering, Curiosity kills, old man. I didn't even think I lunged, ripped the USB from his grip and hurled it toward Evan. Go! He caught it, and he and Rachel bolted out the back. I heard a gunshot. Metal clanged. The smell of gunpowder mixed with rain. Evan! I screamed. Run! Don't stop! Keep it safe! A hand grabbed my shoulder and yanked me back. I hit the concrete floor hard, pain shooting through my ribs. A man loomed over me, his voice gravelly. The boss wanted to send a message. He leaned down, whispered against my ear. Mark says, if you take one more step, your daughter won't wake up again. I froze. Before I could react, he slammed a fist into my stomach. Everything went black. When I came to, they were gone. Mr. Harris lay motionless, blood pooling beneath his head. Moments later, Evan returned soaked to the bone, clutching the USB. They're gone, he panted. Cops are on the way. I looked at Mr. Harris. He wasn't breathing. Oh my God, Rachel choked. They killed him. I gripped Evan's shoulder tightly. The USB, you still have it? Yes. Good. We can't give it to the police yet. Mark has people inside. They'll wipe it clean. Rachel covered her face, tears mixing with the rain. What do we do now, Lillian? We stay quiet, go underground, and wait for the right moment. By dawn, the local news ran a headline. Former Silver Line employee dies in warehouse altercation. Authorities suspect robbery. No mention of Mark, no mention of the data, but in my hands, that black USB remained. I knew it wasn't just evidence. It was the key to unmasking a killer. That afternoon, I got a message from Lily's number. "Mom, I'm sorry for not believing you. I need to talk." Alone. I stared at the screen, heart clenching, not knowing if it was truly from my daughter or the final trap Mark had set. Lily's message came just before midnight. "Mom, I'm sorry for doubting you. I want to meet just the two of us. At Aunt Carol's old house. Mark doesn't know." I read it over and over. Every word pierced like a knife. Maybe she meant it, or maybe Mark was pulling the strings again. But if I didn't go, I might never have a chance to save her. I slipped the black USB into my coat pocket and told Evan and Rachel to wait for me a few blocks away. "If I'm not out in 30 minutes, call the police." "Are you sure?" Evan asked, worry in his eyes. "I survived the fire, the lies, and him. I'll survive tonight, too." When I arrived, the old house was swallowed in darkness. Wind rattled the rusted window frames. The door was unlocked. I pushed it open. "Lily?" I whispered. No answer. Only the sharp, bitter scent of burning candles. I stepped into the living room. A single candle flickered on the table, casting long shadows. Beside it, a cracked photo of me and Lily from years ago. Tucked behind the frame, a handwritten note. "Mom, I'm upstairs." I climbed slowly, every step of the staircase creaking underfoot. Then, halfway up, a voice emerged from the shadows. Not Lily's. "Mother Lillian, you really are persistent." My chest tightened. Mark stepped out from the far end of the hallway, holding his phone. He wore a crisp white shirt and a faint smirk. "Your daughter's not here. She's sleeping very deeply." "What did you do to her?" "Just a little sedative. Poor thing's exhausted. From dealing with you." I backed away, my hand gripping the USB inside my pocket. "You won't get away with this, Mark. I have everything right here." "The USB?" He chuckled. "Oh, I've seen it already. Harris was a fool." "What do you think the police will say when they see you attacking an old man and stealing evidence?" I froze. He had staged it all. "You murdered him, and you'll pin it on me." "No, Mother Lillian. I simply took advantage of your usual style, emotional, impulsive, and with no one left to believe you." He stepped closer. His cologne and a hint of whiskey filled the air. "Hand me the USB and I promise I'll leave you alone. Lily will be cared for. Your reputation, your peace safe. But if you don't..." "If I don't what?" "You'll simply vanish, like Elaine, like Catherine." I looked him in the eye, then gave a faint smile. "You know what your problem is, Mark. You talk too much before the end." He flinched. That's when I pulled my phone from my pocket, already recording the entire conversation. I hit send. The voice memo flew straight to Evan. "What the hell?" Mark lunged. I grabbed the candle and shoved it into his chest. Flames leapt onto his shirt. He staggered back, swatted at the fire, then swung at me, but I dodged. My phone crashed to the ground, the screen cracking. Smoke curled upward from his scorched shirt. "You're insane," he shouted, ripping it off and tossing it aside. "I'm going to sirens, flashing lights." Evan and Rachel had arrived. Mark spun and bolted through the back door, vanishing into the night. When the police stormed in, I didn't move. My hands shook, but my eyes were steady. I stared out into the darkness where he'd escaped and whispered, "It's over, Mark. I've recorded every word." Rachel gripped my shoulders, voice trembling. "That recording, Evan sent it to John Hill. The reporter. He heard the whole thing." "Good," I said, closing my eyes. "Now let him destroy himself. with his own words. I didn't sleep that night. Rain drummed on the tin roof, steady and cold. I knew the final showdown was coming. Lily and Mark's wedding day. The stage where he'd try to complete his happy ending, and where I would step in to tear the mask off in front of everyone. Lily's wedding day. The sky hung heavy and gray, as if even the clouds sensed what was coming. I looked at myself in the mirror, my hair streaked with silver, a bruise still visible on my neck from that night. But the eyes staring back held no fear. I was ready. Mrs. Johnson straightened my jacket and asked softly, "Are you sure you want to go, Lillian? He hasn't been arrested yet." "That's exactly why I have to. He won't expect me to show up." "And Lily?" "She'll hear the truth from his mouth, not mine." I clutched my handbag, inside it, the USB, a fully charged phone, and the recorded audio. Reporter John Hill was waiting in the lobby, along with Rachel and Evan. Everything was in place. Today, Mark Gabriel would marry and bury himself. The ceremony was held at a luxurious riverside hotel. I walked in through the glittering lights, past the white flowers lining the aisle, into a room filled with hundreds of guests. Soft music, polite smiles, empty congratulations. It was all part of the sweet symphony of lies. At the end of the aisle, I saw Mark standing beside Lily. He wore a gray suit, beaming, his hand tightly wrapped around hers. I knew that smile. It was the same one that had made my daughter forget her own mother. His eyes locked on mine. Just for a second, but I saw the tension tighten across his face. He hadn't expected me to be alive, let alone here. Lily looked confused. She whispered something to him, but he only smiled, gently stroking her hand, as if to say, "Don't worry." The ceremony began. The officiant recited the familiar words, "If anyone here knows of any reason why these two should not be joined in marriage, speak now." Silence. No one moved. I stood up. A ripple of whispers spread across the room. Mark's brow twitched, but he kept smiling. "Mom, please don't," Lily began. "It's all right, sweetheart," I interrupted, my voice calm. "I just have a gift for you and your groom." I took out my phone and pressed play. The audio echoed across the lavish hall. "If you give me the USB, I promise to leave you alone. Otherwise, you'll simply disappear. Like Elaine, like Catherine." Mark's voice, clear, cold, arrogant, rang out from the speakers. The room froze. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Lily turned to Mark, horrified. You said that?" Mark stiffened. "It's fake. She edited the recording." "Really?" came a voice from the back. It was reporter John Hill, stepping forward with a mic. "Then why does the original file have a timestamp and location metadata from your phone, Mark?" The hall erupted in murmurs. Rachel stepped up, holding the black USB. "This contains IP logs from Silverline's server. Police are reviewing them as we speak." "You accessed insurance files for 3 victims, all listing you as the beneficiary." Mark went pale, then suddenly exploded. "She faked it all! She's crazy! You're all falling for this!" Lily stepped back, tears spilling from her eyes. "You lied, didn't you?" "You have to believe me," he shouted, reaching for her hand. She pulled away, her gaze shattered. Police entered the hall. One officer stepped forward and announced, "Mark Gabriel, you're under arrest for insurance fraud and suspicion of attempted murder in 3 cases. He turned to me, eyes full of venom. "You think you've won, Lillian? No one gets away, not even your daughter." They dragged him out in handcuffs. The room descended into chaos. Lily stood frozen, watching Mark disappear. Then she collapsed. I rushed forward and caught her in my arms. "I'm sorry. I never wanted you to find out like this." "Mom," she choked out. I didn't believe you." "But now you do, don't you?" She nodded, tears soaking into my shoulder. The wedding music kept playing, offbeat and distorted like fate laughing in our faces. 2 days after the wedding, Mark was in custody. The news spread across the media. Businessman Mark Gabriel arrested on suspicion of insurance fraud, arson, and attempted murder. But he hadn't confessed. He smiled on television, claiming he was innocent and that he was framed by his mother-in-law. I knew he hadn't really lost. Not someone like Mark. The police allowed Lily and me to attend one final confrontation before the case was handed over to the court. The interrogation room was cold and overly bright. Mark sat across the table, wrists cuffed, but the smirk remained smug and arrogant. Lily sat beside me, her hand cold as ice. I could hear her heart pounding while Mark began, "Look at you two like you've already won. You know, Lillian, I should really thank you. You made me more famous than any deal I ever signed. Do you even realize how many lives you've destroyed?" I asked, my voice shaking. Lives were weak to begin with. I just gave them a little nudge. He turned to Lily, voice softening. "And you, Lily, do you know why your mother hates me? She's jealous of you. You're a younger, prettier, and smarter version of her." "Shut up," Lily hissed through gritted teeth. "You lied to me. You used me to try to kill my mother." "I didn't kill anyone," Mark chuckled. "That fire, she started it. I only came to help. Everything is backed by evidence." "Fake evidence," I said. "The police recovered Silverline's servers. Every IP log points back to you." Mark laughed. "You really believe that? You think I could have done all that alone? You think I had the power to alter million-dollar insurance records by myself? You're naive, Lillian." I froze. "What do you mean?" "I'm just a pawn. The real architect is still sitting in a Silverline office, puffing cigars and signing new policies." "Megan Lott?" Rachel asked. "She's disappeared. Megan was just a bridge. The one at the top is the person you all trusted most." He leaned back, smirking. "Look through your husband's emails, Lillian." My breath caught. "Frank? Oh, you didn't know. Your husband used to be a financial advisor for Silverline. They kept his system credentials active even after his death. That account his was my back door into everything. Without it, I couldn't have done a thing." The ground felt like it was crumbling beneath me. Frank, the man I had trusted with everything, had unknowingly left the door open to this nightmare. Mark lowered his head and chuckled. "He built the door. I just walked through it." The officers ended the session. As Mark was escorted out, he looked back at me with eyes like cold steel. "When you see the real face of Silverline, you'll wish I had killed you that night." He vanished behind the steel door. Lily trembled, tears rolling down her cheeks. "Mom, was he telling the truth?" "I don't know, but I'm going to find out." I stood and gripped my daughter's hand tight. This fight isn't over. Mark was just the surface. What's hiding underneath is the real monster. Outside the station, Rachel and Evan were waiting. Evan walked up and handed me a folder. John Hill just sent this. Frank's email account really did have access to Silverline. But there's something strange. The account was active until a month after he died. I froze. A cold wind swept through the corridor. A month after he died? Then who's been using my husband's identity? I looked up at the heavy gray sky as rain began to fall, and deep inside, I felt it fear and clarity rising at once. The battle had only just begun. Shaw, Mark was hired help, but the real puppet master was still out there, free, and fully aware that I was still breathing. The district court was packed. Media swarmed outside, cameras flashing in every direction. The crowd jostled, equal parts eager and outraged. I sat in the front row, watching Mark being escorted in, wrists still cuffed, but his chin held high, eyes arrogant, as if he were still in control of the game. Defendant Mark Gabriel is charged with 3 counts: insurance fraud, second-degree murder, and intentional property destruction. The prosecutor read aloud, each word deliberate. Mark didn't flinch. He turned his head, scanned the courtroom, then stopped at me and smiled. that smile cold and defiant as if to say, "I'm not alone." During the arguments, the defense presented a slew of inconsistencies. They revealed that another account in Silverline's system had accessed Elaine and Catherine's insurance records after Mark was arrested. The courtroom buzzed. The prosecutor looked at me, and I understood. Someone was still continuing the operation. "Your Honor," the defense attorney said, voice confident, "my client may be a victim of a much larger criminal network. Someone manipulated the system to frame him." I clenched my fists. Mark was twisting the truth, the very truth I hadn't yet grasped. After the morning session, I left the courthouse with Evan and Rachel. Reporters swarmed, microphones thrust toward my face. "Ms. Lillian, do you think Mark could be telling the truth? Could someone else be behind this?" "Yes," I replied simply, "and I will find them." We turned into a small alley to escape the crowd when Rachel received an email. She opened it and her face went pale. "Oh my God. Evan, look at this." On her screen was a photo taken inside Silverline's office, a blonde woman in a black suit, shaking hands with the new director. The caption below read, "Megan Lott, Head of Internal Audit." I stared, stunned. "No, that's impossible. Megan is dead. I saw the death certificate." Evan frowned. If she faked her death to avoid the investigation, then Mark's continued access makes total sense. Rachel whispered, "She might be the one who used Frank's account." A chill ran down my spine. It was all a plan. Mark was just the executor. She's the one who cleared the path. That night, I sat in the dim glow of a desk lamp, poring over old documents. I opened Frank's old email account. In a hidden folder, I found a string of messages between him and Megan Lott sent shortly before he died. "Frank, thank you for the access. This project will be hugely profitable for both of us." "I don't want to continue this, Megan. Something feels wrong at Silverline." "Don't worry, just a few test policies. Everything will be fine as long as you stay quiet." The final message was sent 3 days before Frank died in a car crash. I threw the phone on the table, heart pounding. "No, Frank, you knew." Rachel looked at me and whispered, "Do you see now? Mark was just a tool. Megan, she killed Frank and used his account to unlock the system." I nodded. And now she's back, parading around as a whistleblower to clean her image. The next day, Mark appeared in court again, still calm and composed. But this time, I saw him differently. He was no longer the monster, just the loyal dog of someone far more dangerous. I stepped closer as the officers escorted him past. "Mark," I said quietly, "I saw Megan. She's alive." He froze. For the first time, fear flickered in his eyes. You're lying." "No, and I'll make her pay, just like I did with you." He said nothing, then smiled a twisted, bitter grin. "Good luck, Mother Lillian. She's nothing like me. She doesn't need to kill to win. She just needs to make you destroy yourself." As he was taken away, I stood alone in the hallway. Cameras flashed in the distance, reporters shouted my name. But I heard none of it. Only one thought remained in my mind. The fight wasn't over. The real mastermind, Megan, was still out there. And this time, I would be the one doing the hunting. I arrived at Silverline headquarters on a gray, rainy afternoon. Inside, the glass building reflected the sky like a dull mirror, cold and sterile. I walked down the long corridor, where everything gleamed so polished it felt lifeless. The receptionist eyed me with suspicion, but when I said the name Megan Lott, her voice dropped as she picked up the phone. "She's available. You may go up to the 12th floor." The elevator rose in silence. I stared into the metal panel, my reflection gaunt, but eyes sharper than ever. I was no longer a victim. Today, I was the one who ends this. The door opened. Megan Lott looked up from her desk. Still beautiful, wavy blonde hair, soft red lips, composed like she had never disappeared from the world. "Mrs. Carter," she smiled. "I heard you wanted to see me. I thought you were dead." "Oh, rumors are such curious things, aren't they?" She shrugged. "Sometimes, vanishing is the only way to survive." I sat across from her, eyes locked. "Mark's been arrested. He says you're the one behind everything." "Mark?" She laughed like it was gossip. "That fool was weak. He thought he could play big and stay clean. But you think I'm the mastermind?" "No, Lillian, I just understand the rules of the game." "The rules?" "Whoever controls the data wins. Silverline feeds off risk. We simply made use of it. Middle-aged women with big policies, lonely, trusting. They were numbers. I turned numbers into profit." I clenched my fists. "And my husband Frank was just another number to you?" For the first time, Megan faltered just a beat. "Frank was a good man, but too soft. He knew too much and started to panic. I simply let the system do what it does." "You killed him." "No, I didn't have to." "A car accident is a natural outcome when someone refuses to cooperate. You also used Mark. Let him do your dirty work." "Mark thought he was in charge, but he was just a tool. You know the thing about men. If you let them believe they're powerful, they'll put the collar on themselves." I pulled out my phone and hit the record button. "You seem to like talking before thinking, Megan." She smiled, tilting her head. "Do you think I'm as stupid as Mark? This room is soundproof. No signal, no network. You're just talking to me and no one else." I said nothing. She poured herself a drink, sat back down across from me. "Truth is, I respect you, Lillian. You're different from the others. Didn't break, didn't stay silent. But that also makes you dangerous. What are you going to do?" "Nothing. Silverline will erase your file within a week. Your house is gone, your name tied to a psychological delusion. Soon you'll just be a sad story no one believes." I glanced around. She was right. No signal, no recordings, no cameras. But I smiled. "Maybe you forgot something, Megan. I didn't come here to record you." I stood up, pulled a black USB drive from my coat, the copy Evan made, and slammed it on her desk. "I came to return what you created." She frowned. "What are you talking about?" "On that USB is every access log, yours included. Evan already sent the real one to the Tribune this morning. This is just a copy, so you can see what's about to bury your career." Her face went from calm to pale. You wouldn't dare." "Oh, I already did." She shot up, voice cracking. "You have no idea who you're up against." "Oh, I do," I said, walking to the door. "A woman who thought power was a shield, when in fact it's just a mirror, and today it cracked." As the elevator doors closed, I caught a glimpse of Megan collapsing into her chair, face ghost white. My phone buzzed a text from John Hill. "Front page tomorrow, Silverline exposed. Megan Lott charged with conspiracy and obstruction." I leaned against the wall, exhaling deeply. There was nothing left to say, nothing left to lose, only the final silence and true freedom. 1 week after the article was published, Silverline officially shut down. The news flooded every major TV channel. Silverline CEO indicted for concealment and insurance policy manipulation. Megan Lott, previously presumed dead, arrested at airport while attempting to flee the country. My name also appeared in the media for the first time without the words suspected, delusional, or mentally unstable. Just simply, the woman who dared to expose a criminal network. People called me a survivor, a brave witness. But when I turned off the TV in my small temporary home, all I could hear was the ticking of the clock and the sound of my own breath. No victory brings peace, only silence and memory. Lily moved in with me for the time being. She spoke less, visibly thinner. Sometimes I would see her standing on the porch for a long time, as if trying to make sense of something her mind still couldn't accept. That night, she sat next to me, her voice barely a whisper. "Mom, I still can't believe any of this really happened." "Me neither," I replied. "Some nightmares only become real when we wake up." He said he would protect me. You know, I believed him. "Believing is what makes us human, sweetheart," I said gently. "But it's also what hurts us the most." Lily looked down, her voice trembling. "Are you mad at me? For not believing you?" "No, honey." I held her hand. "I'm just afraid that one day, when someone else comes along, you'll forget how to see the truth again." She rested her head on my shoulder and cried like a child. And for the first time in months, I cried too, not from fear, but from finally holding my daughter in peace. 3 days later, police confirmed that Mark had pled guilty in a closed hearing in exchange for a reduced sentence. He confessed that Megan had orchestrated the entire scheme, including Frank's accident. They uncovered fake insurance policies Megan had created using my identity and that of many other women. I read the news, my heart growing cold. Frank, my kind, gentle husband, had seen the storm coming long ago, but never managed to escape it. I visited his grave, bringing a bouquet of white chrysanthemums. The sun was mild, the breeze gentle, the scene almost mockingly peaceful. I sat down, placed my hand on the stone, and whispered, "You know what? It's over. I saw the monster you once feared, and now I understand you weren't weak. You just knew there are things so dark, no one can fight them alone." A sparrow landed on a nearby branch and let out a quiet chirp. I smiled softly. "Rest now, Frank. I've paid the debt for both of us." That afternoon when I got home, Evan was waiting by the gate. He raised a hand and gave a small smile. "The paper just ran part 2. They're calling you the darkness that exposed the light. I don't need a title. But you should know your story's given people the courage to speak out. Silverline was just the beginning. They're reopening the files on 3 other insurance companies." I looked at him, a rare warmth in my gaze. "You still believe in justice, Evan?" "I do, because I've seen it in your eyes." He left soon after, leaving Lily and me alone in the yard. The sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the neighborhood. Lily said softly, "Mom, do you think we can start over?" "We will," I replied, "but we won't forget, because forgetting is how evil repeats itself." That night, I sat by the window as moonlight spilled across the floor. The black USB still sat on the table, scratched, silent, like a witness to hell. I didn't throw it away. I kept it not to remember Mark or Megan, but to remind myself that truth needs a guardian. Outside, the wind rustled the curtain gently. No more footsteps lurking, no more scent of gasoline, no more fear. Only me and the peace earned by blood, tears, and loss. 2 weeks after the trial, the media began to go quiet. My name stopped appearing on TV, and the neighborhood stopped whispering. People had new stories to gossip about, new tragedies to forget. Each morning, I took walks past the streets once scorched by the fire. The old house was now nothing more than a slab of concrete and a bent fence. The city had granted me permission to sell the land, but I hadn't. Something inside me still wasn't ready to let go. In the afternoons, I volunteered at the small library nearby, helping shelve books. The work was repetitive, mundane but peaceful. Sometimes Lily would drop by, bringing a lunchbox and her gentle smile. When I saw her smile, I knew I hadn't lost everything. One evening, I sat in the living room, rereading the case files. Every name in there was a life betrayed, a soul cut short. I closed the folder, ready to put it away. Then I heard a knock at the door. I opened it. No one there. Just a brown envelope on the doorstep, with no sender's name. I picked it up, a cold shiver crawling up my spine. Inside was a photo printed on old paper, the edges slightly burned. In it, Megan Lott sat in an interrogation room, hands cuffed. But her eyes were fearless. They stared straight into the lens, lips curled in a cold smirk. On the bottom edge, scrawled in black marker, "Not the end." I dropped the photo, heart pounding. The walls of the room seemed to close in. I glanced outside, no one, just darkness and the whisper of rain. I called Evan, my voice shaking. Did you send me something?" "No, what are you talking about?" "An envelope. A photo." "Of Megan." "What photo?" I told him. There was silence on the line. Then he said quietly, "Ms. Lillian, Megan is still in custody. No one's allowed near her. If that photo is recent, it means someone inside the system is still protecting her." I sat down, gripping the photo tightly. "Evan, do you think the network's not really gone?" "It's possible," he sighed. "You were the first to shake it. But people like Megan, they don't just live on money. They survive on power. You cut off one head of the snake, but you haven't seen the whole nest." That night, I didn't sleep. I sat by the window, cold moonlight spilling across the table. Megan's smile in the photo stared through time, daring me. I picked up a lighter, held the flame close to the photo, then stopped. I couldn't burn it. Burning it would mean denying it, and I'd sworn I'd never turn my back on the truth again. I slipped the photo into my journal and wrote one last line. "Truth doesn't end when evil is caught. It only goes quiet, waiting for someone brave enough to speak again." The next morning I brought another bouquet of white chrysanthemums to Frank's grave. The sky was clear, not a single cloud. I whispered, "You see, love, I'm still here, still standing guard. If evil ever returns, I'll rise again just like last time." A soft wind passed by. I closed my eyes, breathing deep, taking in the scent of flowers, of earth, of a peace that wasn't born of perfection, but from learning to face what hurts. As I turned to leave the cemetery, morning sunlight poured across the road. A child rode by on a bike, laughing brightly. I smiled and walked a little slower, my heart still hollow, but lighter. I knew I could never forget the past, but maybe, for the first time in my life, I no longer had to fear it. 1 month after Silverline collapsed, my life slowly returned to a quieter rhythm. No more cameras, no more sensational headlines. People had moved on to other tragedies, forgotten me, as they always do. I moved into a small house near the sea, where the waves came in steady like time's lullaby repeating itself. Each morning, I made a cup of coffee and sat on the porch, watching the sunlight spill through the window frame. Some days, I felt like I had forgotten everything, the screaming, the flames, the lies. But then a small sound, a creaking vent, a glass on wood was enough to jolt me. Trauma doesn't disappear, it only sleeps in your bones. Lily still visited every week. She had started therapy, learning how to forgive herself. One afternoon, she sat across from me, eyes gazing out to the horizon. "You know, Mom, there were times I really hated you," she said, "because you were always right. But now I get it, some people carry pain so others can survive." I took her hand and whispered, "I never wanted to be right. I just wanted you to still be here." She smiled, tears spilling and landing on the back of my hand. "I'm here, and so are you. That's enough." We sat in silence, only the waves and the soft sea wind brushing our hair. For the first time, the silence wasn't suffocating. It was real peace. That night, I cleaned out the old drawer, planning to put away the journal and the not the end photo. When I picked it up, I noticed the handwriting on the back familiar, not Megan's. It was Lily's. I froze, my hands trembling. Scrawled faintly, like it was written in a rush, were the words, I want you to never fall asleep in front of the dark." I placed a hand over my chest, breath catching not from fear, but something bitter and warm all at once. My daughter understood. She hadn't sent the photo to frighten me. She'd sent it to remind me that vigilance is the legacy of those who have been betrayed. I stepped outside and looked out over the night sea. The dark water reflected the silver moonlight like shattered glass. I thought of Frank, of Mark, of Megan. 3 names that taught me the same lesson. No one is ever exactly who they seem. But I also thought of Lily, of Mrs. Johnson, of Evan, those who stood by me, even when the truth hurt. And I realized family isn't blood. It's the ones who dare to face the darkness with you. Before going to bed, I wrote the last line in my journal. Truth doesn't save us from pain. It only teaches us how to endure pain without becoming a liar. Then I closed it and turned off the light. Outside, the sea whispered, its waves like the steady heartbeat of someone coming back to life. I whispered into the dark, "Frank, can you hear me? I'm not afraid anymore." The next morning, Lily came to visit. She saw the journal on the table, opened it, and read the final line. Then she smiled. She turned to the photo by the window, the old one of the 2 of us, hand in hand in front of the old house. The ocean breeze fluttered the edges of the frame, catching the light in gentle glimmers. Lily whispered, her voice soft as surf, "Mom's no longer alone, and I'll never let the darkness return." 1 year passed. The world forgot about Silverline. People talked about politics, movies, new scandals. But in a quiet corner by the sea, there was a woman who still sat each morning at an old wooden desk, writing not to be heard, but to never forget. I, Lillian Carter, began to record my entire story in a long manuscript. No dramatic title, just a few words. When the truth burned my house. Evan helped edit it. Rachel verified the records. And Lily typed every single page. We didn't speak much, but each time I saw my daughter's eyes follow the words line by line, I knew the truth had saved at least one person. When the book was published, I didn't expect anything. But within a week, thousands of readers wrote in. Wives, mothers, daughters. They shared how they had been deceived, manipulated, broken, and how, because of this story, they found the courage to leave, to speak. One newspaper wrote, "Lillian Carter didn't just expose a crime, she exposed how society teaches women to doubt themselves." I read that line, and tears welled up. Not from pride, but because I knew it had taken nearly a lifetime for someone to truly understand me. That night, Lily sat beside me and asked, "Do you ever regret it?" "Regret what?" "Digging it all up, letting the world see your wounds." I was quiet for a long time before I answered. The truth isn't for show. It's for remembrance. I don't want you or anyone living in fear, not knowing they're being lied to. She nodded gently. "I get it now, Mom. Truth doesn't kill people, it only kills those who live off lies." I looked at my daughter and smiled. That sentence, I'll remember it for the rest of my life. 3 days later, I received an email from an unknown address, just one subject line. "We read your book." Inside was a set of images, screenshots of a new insurance contract from a company named Bright Shore. At the bottom of the contract was a signature, M. Lot. I stared at the screen, heart tightening. Then I laughed a tired, clear-sighted laugh. So darkness doesn't die. It just changes its name. I hit forward, sent the images to Evan with one note. This time we keep going. No one else should burn in this fire. That night, I stood on the balcony. The sea still whispered. The moon was full again. I breathed in deeply, letting the cold wind brush my skin. No more fear. No more hiding. I had become what Mark, Megan, and all of Silverline feared the most, a woman who still believes. I closed the journal and wrote one last line. Family isn't where you're born. It's where you're allowed to tell the truth without being silenced. And truth, however painful, is the only thing worth living for. I put the pen down, watched the moonlight stretch across the wooden floor, and listened to Lily's soft laughter from the kitchen. A simple moment, achingly beautiful, and I whispered not to anyone, just to myself. This is not the end. It's the beginning of living honestly. And I smiled, because for the first time after everything I knew, I was alive. Truly alive.